it was, you know, it was, we had to go at it, and I got popped on from ground ground air fire, hit my 3 and 4 engine. But they didn't knock it completely out. They put an oil leak in both of them. And I shut them down, and we were on, of course, the other side of the mountain. We tried to get over the other side with 2 engines, and I couldn't do it. So I had to bring the engines back in, even though they had oil leaks and smoking like mad. I was afraid it would catch fire. But anyway, I go over the whole hump, and then I could close them down, and then I would start one and wait till it get too hot, it might catch a fire, and I close it out and then start another one, and that's the way I came back in.
How far was it across the mountain?
We were probably a couple hours anyway.
Really?
Away, and I wasn't too sure we were going to make it. But kind of the humorous part, when I started letting down easy, I went out over the water because I figured if I had to sit down, I wanted to sit down on the beach. I figured that would be the safest thing to sit down on. My bombardier, he started screaming at the over there phone, "Get over the land, you know damn well I don't know how to swim." Anyway, they, of course, cleared the base. They knew I was coming in, and I came in, and no problem. And so that was one of the scary missions. And it was one of the tough things we had against flying over there was weather. Terrible thunderstorms and fronts, which we had to go through. And you know, some of those thunderstorms just about tear the airplane apart.
They lost quite a few planes in the mountains too.
Yeah, yeah. It would. Well, one time I was coming back when we aborted our mission because of weather, and I had to come back when it was weather and over the hump, and all of a sudden I lost. The airplane just started dropping terrible, you know, 2,000-3,000 feet a minute. And what had happened, where I didn't know what was happening at the time, but what has happened, and I just got over the hump and got downdraft. You know, the wind was coming through me in a downdraft. And once we broke out, I realized what was happening, and I controlled the airplane and got back in. But that was a scary. The engineer was back in the Bombay, putting pins back in the bombs, and he said all of a sudden he dropped. They said the bombs were coming up right out of the shafts there.
So you wouldn't dump them, you'd read.
Well, at first we did. When we had to abort, we would usually find a secondary target or dump them. But then they got to think, well, that's kind of foolish to waste those bombs unless we absolutely had to. And so we carried them back mostly, and that was all right. There's no problem because we usually had a long way to come back. We got rid of a lot of gas. So we weren't really too heavy, only with the bombs we had. And it was, we had some good missions that we didn't get jumped on, and then we had others that we didn't get jumped on.
How many did you fly?
Oh, I flew about close to 40 missions.
They didn't have a 30 and out or anything?
Well, they had a 300 hour and out. And you got your 300 hours in, then you could go home. So they changed that right after I came home. They changed that and made it up to 400.
Oh, really?
So it was worth.
I know the guys in Europe, they kept up and up and up.
Yeah.
What did you wear generally when you flew?
Just plain. It was warm. It was hot over there in jungles, you know, and we just had flight suits, and we carried, you know, what do they call them? Let's see, safety bags. They weren't safety bags.
Survival gear?
Yeah, survival gear. And they were usually in the pack, in your parachute trap pack. But, you know, if you had to bail out over the jungle, you didn't stand a chance. The jungle would just, you'd get eaten alive with flies in the first place. And the jungle was so tight that you couldn't fight your way through. It was impossible. So if we ever had to bail out, we wanted to make sure we tried to get to the water or someplace close to the water, you know, where we had a chance of getting to the beach, and that was what it was. One of my, probably the biggest mission, they had the island of New Britain, which was north of New Guinea, and they had a base called Rabaul, And that's where the Japanese brought all their supplies into there, and then they supplied New Guinea from there. And it was a big base, well fortified, and had a big lagoon, which they had all their ships that would come into, huge lagoon. And they had a lot of fighters and whatnot. And finally, after, I guess, it must have been, I was there about 6 months, I guess, when they decided that they were just, we were going to have, but we'd go over in the night, single. We'd go and fly over Rabaul and drop bombs one at a time, drop cans, drop bottles, make noise, try to keep them awake, you know. And they didn't have any night fighters, so we didn't have to worry about that. But then they finally decided they were going to have at them. So they had a big raid all planned. Every 24 they get in there, every Navy ship, every 25, 820s, every fighter they could get in the air. It was going to be a big one. And so we took off, and we had 6-ship formation in the squadrons. And they sent a 7th ship along in case somebody aborted. It would take its place. So when I took off, I lost an engine. And they had airplane backup on the ground. So I immediately went back and landed, picked up another airplane, and but our airplane had green tail. And I picked up an airplane, which is a backup airplane with red tail. So I took off, tried to find my squadron, and I did. And my slot, I was out on the end slot in the squadron. I tried to get in, but the man who was flying the 7th airplane, he saw I was a red tail, and he was about to let me in. And I couldn't talk to him on the radio silence. And he wouldn't let me in. And so I thought, well, I've got to do something. So I looked around, and I found a 3-ship formation by his lonesome. And so I just sucked it into the slot position. And of course, I didn't know what he was going to bomb or anything else. But I said, well, I'm going to be on this raid. They're not going to keep me out of that. So we went over to target, and I didn't know what he was bombing. And I realized we went into the lagoon there, and there was a ship. Well, there were 100 ships, I think, but these ships, they took pictures time after time and brought them back, and their ships never changed. They seemed to be always in the same position. So each outfit had something, some ship or some group of ships or submarines or something they would bomb. And this guy had a tanker, huge, big tanker. And so anyway, we got to the bomb room. We knew it was the bomb room. The bomb base opened. And so the bomb went away, pickled one, you know, every second. And my bombardier was to pickle his bomb the same way. And the bombardier called up. He said, my bombs are hung up. I can't get rid of them. So we had a handle called a salvo handle, which you could throw that handle and they'd all drop out at once, get rid of them. So I told him, damn it, get salvo the damn thing, because I was about to hang in there with those bombs. So he did. And they had pictures of it, and the bomb, boom, 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 boom. And then the ship, and all my 8,000 pounds hit that ship dead center. And the ship just, boom, went like that, went down almost immediately. So, and it wasn't necessarily my fault. I mean, I wasn't, you know, you couldn't say, hey, you're a big hero, you did it. We were dropping bombs, but they didn't hit the target, and ours did.